Hello, everybody. Dan Olds here in my usual spot, and we're doing another Winter Classic Invitational Student Cluster Competition Studio Update show. And this is with the fine mentor team from HPE. We have three of them here. How y'all doing?
Great, thank
Great.
Yeah,
you.
good, good. You put in a long week last week, shepherding the students through HPCG and WinPack, which very important benchmarks in there and a good way to get their feet wet. General thoughts. Let's start with you, Chris. Just how did it go?
Oh, well, it's a good week. It's we've done this a few years now, and for
Yes.
us, which is typical in HPC, right? The first time you do something, it takes some work to set it up, and then that after that, you just schedule it and troubleshoot. And so that's kind of how it went this time. Our machine that we typically host on is a little bit different this year, so wasn't uh, wasn't a total cron job. We actually had to do some thinking, but it was good. And we had 10 active teams, which is pretty good compared to previous years. I think they
Yeah, well, there's scheduling problems because most of them weren't on campus yet.
right, yes. So
Yeah,
10 out of 15, which is a
yeah,
challenge. There were a few more that tried to get online and you know, we're not we don't know what the students' schedules are look like, and in any
yeah.
given week something's going on, so that's their business. But what 10 out of the 15 were able to get on the system. They ran we track completed jobs, and so they something like 1,600 completed jobs, and then other jobs that failed or were canceled. It was actually over 2,500. So
Okay. Well, that's
that's
good. Yeah,
not bad for a
yeah,
week.
yeah.
So some work happened.
Well, I noticed that also, I'm watching the Slack channel, and I noticed that Gordon, you and Dennis were active on that. What kind of
Mhm.
things were you seeing?
Well, it was good to see people getting on early and getting a head start, really taking on the challenge and trying to get early successes, running the different benchmarks, compiling them, trying out different things. So that was really good to see. I would also say that it's gotten easier for us to set the machine up for them every year as time goes,
Mm.
although every year we have our challenges also.
Oh, sure.
But I was really happy with the reliability and stability of the machine. I was actually anticipating that they could actually fully load it down and
Really?
completely book it. They had the potential to, but our engineering mindset came in and we had plenty of headroom that we could have actually had uh, we probably could have given them a little bit more resources because of the utilization. So the machine was stable, it ran their jobs. We had very few people, you know, that I don't know of anybody that posted in Slack that the machine itself
I
failed
didn't
the
see
job.
I didn't see
But
anything like that.
but
No.
I do think a lot of them, took on the challenge and got to learn the environment and run things and, you know, with varying levels of success, but that's how we all get started,
Yeah.
is with those initial steps, and then we build on that.
What'd you see out there, Gordon?
Um,
And well, first of all, Gordon,
yep.
put your hands up, please.
Oh,
There we go. Little zoom clipping on that. So he looks like from last year, like he lost both arms. He did not. So good. Okay.
um, so, um, oh, you can edit this. I'm so glad.
Not that I will, but I
I lost
could.
my train of thought.
Okay. So what were you seeing out there with the students and with how they were using the system, that sort of thing? And actually, I want to do a callback to, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, where I believe you gave the advice that when you start these things, get it running on a single node first before you start to scale.
Might have been Dennis. I'm
Might have
not
been down.
sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, somebody said it. It was a good idea. I wonder if anybody did it.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, good
So
watching.
I guess what I remember, or yeah, what I recall, what I saw out there was we normally administer our training system in a really controlled way,
Mhm.
meaning we deliver classes that are really predictable, and we kind of know what's going to happen, and there's lab procedures. So that's one kind of practice in being a system administrator, but it's a whole other thing when we were administering the system with real actual users on it who were doing unpredictable things. So that was actually a good experience, I think, for us. And there was, aside from Dennis, Chris, and I, there were maybe a
Yes.
dozen or more other administrators that were also
Hmm.
helping with various aspects. I would not be able to do very much in configuring a workload manager, for example. Dennis and Chris are able to do a lot of that stuff. And then there are even people from other teams in HPE
There
that
were a
help us with
lot
the,
of people
Yep.
chiming in, and we
yep,
do have to call out Elizabeth Reeve too
yep,
for
Yep.
organizing all of this for the first time.
that's
Um,
right.
and if you guys have any other names to give shout outs to, please.
Right. So yeah, Elizabeth is the manager of our training team. So she kind of took over coordinating the machine or the competition from HPE standpoint this year. The previous the runner of the machine or the system is in a different job now, and
Yeah.
we wish him the best. He did
Yes.
kind of help,
Zach did a
and
great
yeah,
job.
Zach was a great resource for us in the early days, but he was not here when the competition actually
Yeah.
took place. But Chang Lao is our
Yes.
HPCG guru extraordinaire. And then John Barron has traditionally been our HP or LinPack
Hmm.
guru. They were both very active this time, but they had additional help. And I'm just kind of scrolling through because
And there
some
were,
folks that are new to me even.
mm,
We have a woman named Jasmine, and I don't want to miss her last name, but I'm not immediately seeing it. But she was pretty active, helping out John with LinPack, and there were others.
David
uh,
Glow, John
yep,
Rogers.
yep,
that's true. That's
yep.
right. Yep. And I remember some of those names from before from previous years.
Yep, David is one of our workload manager gurus, so he helps with all the Slurm issues. And then John Rogers used to be, might still be, on our programming environment development team.
Mm,
So I, and we're all like HPE employees, but
yeah,
there's 60,000 of us. So um,
there are.
Oh,
Gordon and I are on the same team. Oh, Greg Woodman, yep.
Greg Woodman, Harold Longley, and Robert Phillips, the three, tech gurus that seem to know everything about these sort of systems and how to fix them.
Good, good, good. Yeah, we want to make sure that and anybody else that we didn't mention,
Yeah.
Oh,
thank you and
top-down
great
support.
job. Yeah,
Top-down support from the CEO, Antonio Neri,
Yep.
to our vice
he
president.
knows about this.
Uh,
Antonio Neri knows about this. I know Trish
I,
Damfroger does, but
yeah, well, there's it all the way up to the C
Wouldn't be
level.
surprised.
You
Yeah.
know,
wow.
we get support internally, and that helps us to have the time and resources to provide the resources to the students to learn this.
So glad that you do. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you're starting this competition out is that I mean, you put up 5 hours of training. Um, and that's great, including very specific stuff on LinPack and HPCG. Um, I mean, it's really good. It's detailed, and your support stuff is right on the money and quick, and that's what they need. Um, you know, not a lot of hand holding, but enough hand holding.
Well, and I'm not trying to make this all about us, but we are approaching this competition the way we approach our customers, right?
Mm,
Like our brand is a little bit more high-end white glove service,
yeah, yeah.
and you know, that I don't think, speaking for myself and the other folks that have been mentioned, we don't know any other way to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just how we do it.
And that's what's needed for the first event is it's what I want to say, it's dipping your toe in warmer water as opposed to being thrown or dropped from a helicopter in the middle of the North Atlantic.
Yeah. Well,
And that's a good thing.
shepherding was mentioned earlier on, and I think that's a good, that's applicable. So,
Oh yeah, but this is a very real system. There is
Oh
no
yeah.
doubt
Yeah.
that the density and the capability of the machine is there. This is real life
Yeah.
experience.
It's a
mhm.
real supercomputer, and the kids are getting, war stories that they can talk about. And, turning to that, um, some of these efficiencies on Linpack particularly, how? How did they get? I mean, the top efficiency I'm looking at is 98.29%.
They That's percent of our max. Yes. This year's architecture was a little different than
Not
last
our
year.
peak, not theoretical peak then. Because yeah, it would be of our max, not our peak.
Yeah, we would actually have to ask our benchmark
Okay.
person that. But I know that one thing that I read from them, this year's architecture is a little different. We are
Mm,
all inside of the liquid cooled cabinet, which is
Mm.
extremely dense, extremely tightly packed.
and you're
And
gonna
if I'm
get the
not
turbo
mistaken,
modes.
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we upgraded the slingshot in there, didn't we?
Oh, real?
Yes, yeah. So so the machine we've had is one of the first deployments of the EX architecture, and
Mm-hmm.
previously had 100 gigabit, what we now call Slingshot 100,
Mm-hmm.
and we've
No,
upgraded the network.
10.
Well, yes.
Internal, external. Yeah.
Previously, it was called Slingshot 10, Slingshot 11. Formally, we're supposed to distinguish Slingshot 100 for 100 gigabits per second, and now Slingshot 200 or Slingshot 11, if you prefer the old nomenclature. That's 200 gigabits per second. The difference being we have our purpose-built Cassini network card. So
Mm.
it's Ethernet plus plus, if you like. And so, but yeah, the faster network to the node is definitely a difference. Um, it's not a huge. I mean, a WinPack we said was a 2 node
Mm-hmm.
maximum. So 2 nodes, 4 processors. Um, that there are more complicated systems to tweak for,
Yeah.
but it's
But
it's getting started in a week.
it's the first time. Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is as long as it's, two nodes and they can scale it and it's a
Yeah.
level playing field, that's what we want. That's what we're
Oh
looking
yeah.
for.
And when we got the 10 submissions, we got 10 different value, so there we're kind of all
Yeah.
over the board. But I even the 8th and 9th place teams were still
Yeah.
85% efficiency.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, and I think that's great. And it was a little more scattered on HPCG,
sure.
more of a clear win. Looks like to me. Well, wait a minute. Let me check, make sure I'm looking at the right column. Yeah, yeah, a little bit more distance there. Um, and some teams, and this is going to be fun for the Texas Tech coach and faculty
Mhm.
advisor is a guy named Michael Beebe, who's great, but he's a PhD student, and he was a competitor on one of the Texas Tech teams in 2022. So you've sort of met him before, but he is coaching both teams, and on HPCG, one of the teams did quite a bit better. That's going to be the Red Raiders versus the Matadors. So I think he will use that as a learning lesson. Same thing in Linpack. So we've got some campus battles going on here. CG, well, let me ask you this, because this is one of the things that I've been yelling about is the pattern is they get LinPack running, they get it to scale, and then they get wrapped around the axle trying to get it to scale better, to get that absolute maximum out of it, and they forget about HPCG until the last minute. Did you see that pattern, or do you remember anything like that?
So, and I'm not looking at the camera because I'm looking at our
That's okay.
tracking spreadsheet, but yeah, every morning we would run a accounting job and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
see how many jobs have they submitted, and we set up our system so that there was two different partitions. So when they run a LinPack job, it's in one queue, and when they run a HPCG job, it's another queue. Very easy for us to keep track of, assuming students are doing what they're supposed to do. And the first 2 days of the competition, we had 5 active teams running LinPack jobs, and 1 and 3 teams running jobs. Again, the first 2 days in HPCG, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, but then by day 3, we had 7 teams running LinPack and 7 teams running HPCG, and they were
Okay.
disparate, right?
Okay.
It was in this case, it was definitely a divide and conquer. Like, I'm looking at one of the teams who did reasonably well at HPCG.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't start LinPack until Saturday.
Really? Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, so
reversed. Okay.
right, which same problem, different story, but at the end of the day, right, your goal is get it done by submission deadline. And I would say, I don't know if it's because it's the first week or what, but we definitely had like orders of magnitude growth in usage, uh,
Yeah.
you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we almost
Yep.
didn't allow for submissions on over the weekend, but we kind of thought there might be this pattern. And so, true to form, the college students are, utilizing their full assignment period.
Yes. Yes. So this has been great, and you guys have been great. From anybody, any advice for students on future on as they go through the rest of the competition or anything?
So we had an incident, and I was totally above board, and I think the students handled it very well. And Gordon and I
Mm-hmm.
were kind of involved, where in our training environment, we have a jump server that uses a virtual machine.
Mm-hmm.
So to allow people from outside the company into the lab, and then from the virtual jump server, they jump to the physical machine.
Okay.
And another organization within HPE manages those jump servers, and the credentials are, let's say, not random, right? So
Yeah.
it's something like, user blah 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 to user blah blah blah, 3, and then so we requested a bunch of jump servers, and we sent those out to the students, and we had an incident where one team logged in to their jump server, and then of course it's a Linux VM with uh, connection to the supercomputer. And they're like, wait a minute, this isn't my student directory. What's going on? And they kind of figured out that 2 people were logged into the same VM.
Ah,
Uh, and, so at least one of them is in the wrong place.
I saw, yeah, I did see some traffic about that, but it looks like it
Right.
got handled pretty quickly.
It was handled quickly, and it was totally innocent in
Yeah.
my opinion. And I would
Yeah.
say in these types of situations, because we do have integrity with the competition, I would just say,
Oh, you do.
be open and be honest, immediately. And that, because if this, now we took it as a to do that, like, next year we're going to see if we can kind of make it a little bit harder for this to I mean, I genuinely believe it happened by accident.
Sure.
But we might take some steps to further protect that. But going forward, if there's anything that could be construed as an integrity issue, just be open and honest, and kind of
Yeah.
direct about it. And if you're not trying to hide something, then that will bear out and it will go well. So I just
Okay.
want to compliment the students for how they handled it.
They're good. They're good
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Dennis, Gordon, any closing words, thoughts, advice, pep talks?
Gordon, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a good recommendation if you are an aspiring IT professional is get some cheap computer hardware and install Linux on it, and go see how you can grow your computer
Yeah.
lab.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dennis?
Yep, I'd say there are lots of great resources out there. You know, the national labs have
Yeah.
great information and training. It's free, it's open. You can just read articles and read information about supercomputing and its applications. It's a growing field. There are so many areas of science and information that this is being used in, and they keep finding new ways to use it.
Yep.
4 years ago, who would have thought that they'd be using these to do the generative AI that they're doing right
Yeah.
now?
I mean,
And now
that's
it's
a
common.
subset of HPC, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's similar problems, similar
Yeah.
hardware, applied in a different way. And
Yeah.
now they're applying this new tool to many other things. So it's a skill set, that's going to come in handy throughout your career.
Yes.
And it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
The biggest computers in the world working on the world's biggest problems. That's
Yeah.
HPC and subset of AI, all of that. That's what we're all involved in. And it's a great community. And, I just follow up on what Dennis said, that if you're out there looking at material and videos and things, if you got questions, ask them. It's a very welcoming community. It's very open and helpful. Anyway, well, speaking of open and helpful, thank you again, HPE. Another fantastic job. Much appreciated. And for everybody out there, follow us on social media. You don't have anything better to do. Give us a follow. Chime in, spread it around, tell your friends, tell your enemies, let them know. And we appreciate you all watching, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Good luck in the rest of
Very
the
much.
competition, guys.